guys, welcome back to the live stream. We are finalizing the E-150 build, and so this is a 2000 Econoline essentially, and it's been converted by an older custom company. The previous owner built this bed system and had a mild power system with like a lead acid battery, so this like interstate battery. Simple 1000 watt modified sine wave inverter, which I don't recommend. But that was all housed down here on the right hand side. And so this project is gutting that out, putting a Renogy 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter charger, a Renogy DC to DC charger, that's a 30 amp charger for the engine to charge the lithium battery. And then for the lithium battery, we went with the Li-Time 230 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. And then we're going to be reusing their AC Progressive Dynamics little AC converter box for the household outlets that are in the van. So the scope of this project has been, there's no solar or anything like that. The scope is to run the fridge off the 230 amp hour battery, which is a 120 volt fridge, for a couple days. And then she's going to go to campgrounds and be mainly plugged into shore power. But if she's at like a rest area or she's, at some other campground that doesn't have power, this is going to allow her to have power for a couple hours, run the AC for an hour or two. But again, the main part of this van, she will be hooked up to campground power to run the AC. AC also has a heater built into it. It's got a little combo grid inside. But yeah, that's the plan for this. So where we've taken it in the last couple of live streams is we've taken it from gutting out all the previous electronics and then putting in all these new electronics. So I'm going to move on to the van cam here and show you what we've done. So these panels, so I just did some custom cutout of this Baltic birch, and what I did last night off camera is I sized a bunch of the wiring. I only have one wire left here. We're going to be doing that today on the live stream. That's the last power wire. But if we pull this out here, this panel is the one that's going to be housing the inverter on and off switch, the battery disconnect, and then the Renogy battery monitor. You may be asking, why is this located in the back of the van? The front of the van, where the bed and the kitchen galley, there's really not a good spot to put anything, if you can believe it. This van has like an old school kind of custom interior, a bunch of nooks and crannies and stuff like that, but there's no real surface to mount anything. And for the scope of this project that I've mentioned in previous live streams, it's just, we're trying to stay simple and stick to a budget. So all that rewiring was not part of the project. So what I'm doing is putting this all in one spot. The good thing is when she's in the van traveling, she's gonna have this on for the duration of the trip so that the fridge will run the whole entire time. So she'll turn this on when she's ready to go on her trip, get the fridge cooled down, load everything up, she's good. And then when she gets back home, she can just go ahead and turn it off. Now the cool thing is the inverter charger that's right here, this will automatically turn off and on, so there's no need to actually toggle it on and off. As soon as shore power is connected, it will go ahead and start, it'll automatically turn on and start charging the lithium battery and then powering all the household outlets over here. Now, one thing with this, and you guys feel free to ask any questions if you got questions on this build or just van stuff in general. But one thing is I don't recommend. Hold on a second, double checking my stream here. One thing that I don't recommend is Romex, but we're not rewiring this van, so I just went through, inspected the Romex, made sure it was safe, and then went through and just made sure that everything was, bolted down. With Romex, again, I don't recommend it, but if you are going to have it in your van, a lot of people do, especially DIYers and people just, for lack of a better word, that's just what they have handy. You just need to make sure that it is bolted down and it doesn't move or vibrate. That's the kind of killer of those wires, is because this solid wire, it doesn't like to be flexed and vibrated over time because it can fail and break, and then you have a short. But as long as everything is fused properly, it's bolted, you can visually see, where it's going. It's not nicked or anything like that, and it's safe. It is possible to use it, although I do not recommend it. So just to bring you in here and show you a little bit about what we've done before we actually enclose everything and you can't see it anymore. Inverter is pretty obvious. This will take shore power. It will convert it to charging profile for the lithium battery. At the same time, it will invert the power, create household power here that will go to the breaker panel. And so we got three breakers. We got the main breaker for the box that brings power to essentially the AC bus bar, if you want to call it that. And so it's 30 amps for the circuit, and then we've got two 15 amp circuits that are operated off of that, and they're the two outlets of the van. One of the outlets is dedicated to the fridge, and then the two in the back, or the one in the back is dedicated to charging your phone or anything like that. So you got two receptacle outlets. So one of the two the fridge plugs into, one is open, so if you wanted to use an induction stove or something like that. And then there's two in the back of the van, so like a phone charger or like a heated blanket or something like that. And that's all her power needs. This box does have the capability of a 12-volt circuit, so it can output a 12-volt circuit, but the make sure I got everything in focus here. It can put out output 12 volts, but we're not doing that. So that part of this has been disconnected. So over here, besides the shore power as incoming, we have up here we have a 6-gauge wire coming from the battery and alternator. So that's going to be coming into the DC to DC charger, and that's going to be charging the battery while the engine is running, going down the road at 30 amps. It does have an integrated MPPT solar charge controller, but that's not populated right now because we're not we don't have any solar on this van, but it's already there for a future upgrade if she wants to do that. There's not really a good spot on the roof to put anything, so she's mainly going to be at campgrounds and driving. So she's always going to be charging this thing. Down here at the bottom we have a Renogy shunt, and so that is what is getting our battery monitor to find out what the charge of the battery is. And then finally we have the two inputs for the inverter coming from the battery, and then those inputs are interrupted by a disconnect switch right here that disconnects the battery. And that's pretty much it. So it's very simple, straightforward. It's taken a little bit longer than I anticipated, only because the previous owner, whoever built the bed system, it wasn't square. There's a lot of just stuff that wasn't. I needed to make a cover for this because it was open to the elements. So if you open these back doors and it was raining, it was raining over all the stuff, which is not good. And it's specifically because this inverter had to be in this orientation. I tried to flip it and have it down, but the door wouldn't shut, so I had to flip it up, put it in this orientation so we could fit it in here. And so this is obviously exposed, so we want to cover all that up. The last thing I'll do, we may be able to do this on camera, but the switch. So I know the 3,000 watt inverter works with the back panel detached. So there's a back panel here. It's really just for cable management and so that things don't, touch these wires. Nothing's going to be coming in here, so we don't have to worry about that. But this little RJ11 port is what the on-off switch will connect to, and it should work without this other switch port being populated. So there's a manual switch on these inverters. Some people use these in off-grid applications where it's in a barn or garage, and there's just a one power switch. There's not a remote switch. So we'll just need to make sure that that works. If not, we'll have to put that panel back on. But let's see what else here. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that's going on. Once we put this panel on there, you guys won't be able to see the inside of this. So later in the stream, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask me because, this panel will be shut. So I'm gonna leave these covers off here, mainly for the purposes of the stream. I'm gonna kind of box this up and test it, and then I'll probably take the lid off, put these covers on off camera before I deliver the van to them. But yeah, I just wanted to have this video be the wrap-up video so we can kind of just wrap the project up in one video. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, just gonna take a couple of photos here. Now, when you're doing the build, you'll also want to take a bunch of photos. That way, if you have any troubleshooting that you need to do, you can go back and reference those photos for troubleshooting. So before I took this panel apart, I took a bunch of pictures on how everything was plugged in. I've never used a Progressive Dynamics box before. I always used the Blue Sea Systems AC, 120 volt AC panel. So that was something new. And yeah. All right, let's get back to, so we're going to be crimping this power wire. This is the last wire to put in this box. We do have a a 2x4 structure in the back that's actually keeping the battery let's see, secured. Let's see if I can take this off, because in a minute you guys won't be able to see all this. So let's see if we can get it going here. All right. See if you guys can see that. So back here in the back of the van, this is the lead time battery. So we just got a simple 2x4 structure holding it in the back. And then we have a 300 amp terminal fuse for the battery. And then that just kind of comes around here. You guys can see. There's the shore power plug coming in on the right-hand side. And then we've got the, we're using a MIDI fuse, so not a mega fuse for that fuse coming from the engine. DC to DC charger. There's the shunt. And then there's nothing on the back side of this inverter. It's just where the air comes out. And then we got that 2x2 that is just there to be a backing panel for the panel itself. AC coming in, AC going out to the distribution panel. We're not using those 12 volt outputs, so we don't have that wired in. And if we come over here, you can see here's our breakers. So the first one on the bottom, so from the bottom to the top, we have the breaker that turns the panel on completely, or that supplies the power to the other breakers. And so this one is going to be the, this one is the outlet that powers the fridge. This is the outlet by the bed. And then this is the breaker for the rooftop AC. So this is the, if you wanted to use these fuses, you'd have to wire in these wires into a breaker. So, and if she wants to expand that in the future, she can. She just doesn't have any 12 volt accessories. And then this is going to be our lid that goes on top of the van. So this will just come up here. And it'll get mounted just like that. And then the last thing is this front panel will actually hold a latch just to keep the bed shut. But yeah, we just really cleaned that up for her because it was kind of a mess back here. There was some other wood coming out here and it was making it really hard to access. She puts her chairs and stuff like that, slides them up through here. And so I just took all that out so it's not such a big mess. Yeah, so that's where we're at. So let me get this camera back on here. And we'll get to wiring that last 4/0 cable. Hey Rod, thanks for joining the live stream. There's something I need to do to hold this bed up. The issue is it needs to be something like this. So this coming up. So maybe I can do that really quick later this afternoon. Oh man, hold on a second. Okay, let's get back to it, guys. All right, let's get into this final wiring. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. We're just wrapping this up. So this cable right here, this disconnect is mounted to the panel, and you have an input side and an output side. So if I pull this panel, this will help you guys understand how these things are wired. So one reason I like this one, it's a Blue Sea Systems. It's rated for 300 amps continuous. And when you get a disconnect switch, really find out if it is rated for your max power that's going to be throughput from the battery to your system. 300 amps is typically usually the max of what a lot of people are using. Regardless if you have like a 600 amp hour power bank or something like that, you're typically not drawing anything above that unless you're doing something really wild. But this Blue Sea Systems disconnect switch in general, I really like it because it has this way of mounting it where you can recess it. So for example, the door shutting, all this needed to be recessed as much as possible. So I had a 1/2 inch that I could have anything jut out and not mess with the door. So I actually had to recess this, but this can actually come out and be flush with the panel, or you can recess it like I did. Now in the back of here, this is disconnecting the battery from the system. So what we're gonna have is on the back side, as you guys can see, there's an input and an output. So the input is going to be the power from the battery, and then the output is going to be what goes to the inverter. And so this is what breaks that connection between the battery powering the components. So you just need to make sure that this is disconnecting the battery from the system. You don't want to have, you'll find it obvious when you turn everything on, but you want to make sure that this is breaking the positive terminal coming from the battery to power the system. You don't want to do it, have the disconnect after the fact. So where the battery is still powering something that you miswired, so when you turn this off, it's still connected, if that makes sense. But you can see here, I recommend that you use chrome spacers. They make 1/4 inch chrome spacers. I didn't have any of those, and I had just a huge box of these stainless steel washers, so I just counted them up evenly and put them in here. And then I really like these finishing nuts for the end, so if you kind of map everything out, you can have this type of clean look. Okay, so this panel obviously goes right here, but I've designed it so that when it's in here, I can still, I can pull this back and we can check anything. There's no need for her to come up here and monitor power coming in and out. I've designed this to kind of be a black box, and it just works. It charges when she plugs it in. It works when she turns it on. She doesn't have to worry about anything in here. Everything is fused appropriately, safe, and it's just set it and forget it type of thing. All right, so what we're doing now is this bottom cable is the input. So this cable is going to be just like that, kind of at an angle, and it's going to be coming at this direction. Obviously you don't want these touching, but this box is pretty much made to where it's not really possible for that to happen. So cable's going to come here. Then the second one, the output cable, is what we're working on now. So what we need to do is be mindful how this whole thing is coming out of here. So what we want to do is, one second. Yeah, so what we want to do is do a test fit where we have the output cable actually attached to where it's going to be. And then we just want to make sure that we're going to reach. Now, I've already done this off camera, so I know it reaches. But for you guys, give yourself some room, but you don't want to have too much room because sometimes this cable can get a little wild. So we've got the cable in here, and then we're just making sure that everything is where it needs to be. So I'm going to lift it up. So I'm put it in here as if it was already permanently mounted. And for any cable you should do this, but especially the high amp 12 volt cable. Just make sure nothing's pinched or rubbing or anything like that, because you know, we have so much current and we need that to be just safe. All right, and so I know, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking this marker and I'm dotting where I want the orientation of the lug. So when you get really heavy gauge cables, the lug orientation matters, because sometimes that cable does not want to move. It only wants to go in its natural form. You can't really twist it because it's so chunky, and you can't really bend it where you want. So you need to have the cable lay in its natural position and then adjust this to wherever you're mounting it to. So I take this marker and I make a mark on this terminal right there, like a line, and then I make a line on the cable where it's resting, and then that way when I go to crimp it and heat shrink it, when I lay it in there, it's just going to go down nice and easy, and I don't have to force it or twist it. Okay, so that's all good to go. So let's go. All right, let's go here. So see how I made this little dotted line? I had previously done these 3 dots, but in this, when I put things back in again to do a double check, it didn't work. So this new line right here is what we're going to go with. Now we're going to go and move this down a little bit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and strip this. So about half where this lug is, like halfway down, we're going to kind of take our fingernail and just do a little scratch, and that is where we're going to take our this Jonard Tools CST 1900. This thing is awesome, this stripper. You can dial in how much depth it goes, and there's a little razor, and then once the razor gets in there, you're just going to twist it, and you may have to loosen it, which brings the blade up until you cut through. And the goal of this is to not cut into the copper wires. So we need to just go a little bit further. Just a little bit further, and don't overdo it, because if you overdo it, you'll cut through a ton of wires. So now we can just see we can break it. And as I'm breaking this, it's just the last little bit of rubber is coming off, and then you can just pull it. You can see we have no wires got cut. So we've got our full capacity current wise. Now we'll come over and we'll take this end and very carefully bring it over. Now see how that line's important? So now that line, we don't want it to be twisted like this. We want it right there. So right in line with our line. And then now what we'll do is we'll get our crimper. And we always do hydraulic crimps, even 6 gauge. I do hydraulic crimps. This is not that expensive on Amazon. So, you know, I would definitely get it. And I mean, even if you're just going to do it one time for your van, the safety part of this is worth it. Bad connections create high resistance, and you couple that with high current, and it's not a good It's a recipe for bad things to happen. So what I'm doing is a little tricky. But once I get this grabbed in here, and I just barely lock it in, and then I can take my thumb and really hold that cable in there, and then I can just go for it. And then right there, when it gives you resistance, what you want to do is just hit it down one more time, and then you'll loosen it. You can see we've got our line like that. And when you crimp down, sometimes it'll twist off axis just a little bit, but that's okay. We just don't want this over here. Because what we're doing is this is coming here, and then this wire is coming around here upside down like that. So if you can see how it's naturally laying. It'll naturally lay here, it goes around, and then that's its natural spot. So we're not kinking or forcing this cable in any way. And finally is the fun part, and that is the heat shrink, or at least I like to do that. Where is it? So this heat shrink that I'm using, you can get this in a big roll off of Amazon as well. You might have to buy two different versions because for some reason Amazon, a 1-inch size, when you order it, I've ordered this a bunch of times, like 6 or 7 times, and it's always kind of been one or the other. I don't know why. Even when I've reordered the same part from the same person, it's been slightly off. But if you get a good roll, then you can use this. It takes a long time to go through this. But anyway, this is the heat shrink for 4-aught. It has like a gel inside to seal it. It's technically meant to like waterproof the connection so it doesn't corrode, but it's a bonus if you can get it in the van because it really seals that heat shrink to the wire. You just don't want to have the heat shrink go over the flat surface that's going to be mounting to whatever you need. You just need to have it pulled back so you know that there's no plastic that's going to interfere with your mating surface. And so you can just come in here and figure out what that's going to be. So it looks like we can come down just a little bit. So about right there, we'll be safe. And I always let the heat gun just heat up. So, and this is on its highest setting. When you get high quality heat shrink, it can really take the heat. Now, as you're doing the heat shrink, you're really going to have to let it sit there for a minute because the copper is a really good conductor of heat, and so it's basically sucking all the heat that we're putting into it out. So if you have the one that has the sealant, you want to do it a little bit longer than a normal heat shrink. And you want to do it until a little bit of that sealant oozes out of the edges. Okay. Now this is going to be super hot, so obviously don't grab it. But we're going to go ahead and take our washers off. Whenever you're doing electrical or messing with van components, just keep all the screws on the terminals. Don't take them off and put them somewhere. They're all different. Some of them are actually hard to find if you do lose them because most of them are metric, and maybe your local nut and bolt shop won't have something like that. Lowe's, Home Depot, it's hit or miss. So just FYI. All right, so we're gonna lay this in here, and I'm gonna lay it down right here. And I'm going to go ahead and loop it around just like that. Kind of have that right there, looking good. All right, so now just be careful. I'll put these bolts on here. Now, two things. When we connect this, we want to make sure the battery disconnect switch is off. And we want to make sure that our DC to DC charger fuse is not in. Just want to do everything step by step. We don't want anything to arc if we can help it. Okay, so that's going to be just like that. And then here's our opposite end, so that connects to the, so there's what breaks and connects and disconnects our circuit. Now, this also charges the battery, so it will come back through here and charge the battery. So the bottom of our disconnect will be our charging side. The top is basically just to interrupt the battery connection. So there is different ways to wire it, but I want this to fully disconnect everything. So that what that means is when this is off, the battery monitor is going to be off, everything's going to be off. If you do want the battery monitor to still be connected, then you can do a separate circuit connected to the battery. You'll just need to make sure that that is properly fused so that nothing happens. So yeah, so that is possible. All right, so next, let's go ahead and connect this panel and then just keep on going. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to just kind of reposition the camera out of my way. There we go. Okay, so I am coming back over here to the battery, and I did decide while I was talking to you guys on camera that I do actually want to have the battery monitor always on. I do have it independently fused, which that's really the goal. If you're going to have anything always on, just have it independently fused. Because I was just thinking to myself, when you're putting something together for someone who doesn't really understand, power electronics in general, you want to design it to it's super simple. If you want to do this, you don't have to be an electronics expert. You just need to, if you are going to do it, like if you have a professional build it for you, that doesn't mean you have to know everything how they did it to operate it. So, okay, now that I have that, so basically what I've done is I've connected the sense wire on the battery shunt to the battery shunt, and so now I can I'll connect that once I get over here, and then we'll that should be our first thing to actually be powered. Okay, so now take a good look at this, because this is going to be closed up for the foreseeable future. I'll just take one more picture. Okay. All right, so now the way that I'm putting this together and bolting it together, you guys might be questionable, but this Baltic birch is extremely resilient. It's very, very rigid, and I built a whole entire kitchen galley out of it, and so I understand how it works. So besides this joint and this joint, this is really just going to be simply held in by the edges and the top, because it's not really meant to be set on or anything like that. So these are really just covers. These are covers essentially to hold the controls and keep rain and the weather out of here when she opens the back doors. That's pretty much all that it's there for. Okay, so we're going to take this wire, we're going to put it right down here, and then we're also going to take our output from our DC to DC charger, and that's also going to come on here. And you can kind of think that is the side that's charging the battery. Next, make sure I got my bolts. And then we'll do a final tightening once we get this inside here and the panel bolted up. Okay, so there's that one. And we'll take let's see what Rod has here. Where did you get the wire clamps that are on the wire? So those are awesome. You can pick them up at Lowe's. They're actually made for, they're just plastic. Where's the bag? Let me see if I can find the bag. If you go to the electrical section in the hardware store, there's a bunch of plastic bags, and they are plastic wire holders. So if you go where the wire nuts are, like the Wago connectors at Lowe's or Home Depot. I just had the bag right here. I don't know where it went. Where'd it go? There it is. So they're called cable clamps. Let's see if that's in focus. It's right here. Cable clamps. And then they look like this. They're plastic. Okay, so now we'll take our battery wire. We'll go ahead and get it connected. Yeah, and Rod, when you buy those plastic clips, make sure the screw that you're using to screw into them doesn't split the plastic. I know that sounds obvious, but I like to use truss head screws to put those in, and sometimes they're just slightly bigger than that plastic hole, and they break it. So that might be a little pro tip for you. Most battery terminals are going to be a 1/2 inch nut. This bigger, chunkier one is a 9/16 on the Blue Sea Systems battery disconnect, if you guys are wondering. But again, I'm just kind of loosely putting this in here, and then I'll get this finished up. Okay, so let me get my So we're going to connect our inverter on-off switch right now. So this is that cable I was telling you about. And so we're going to plug it in here. And then I'll probably use this, I'll unscrew those and reuse it so I can wire this into place. So that's in there. So we'll just cable manage this, kind of like so. Just have that like that. see if I can do that. And we're just going to temporarily kind of tuck this around here in the top because I'm going to lift the camera up. Because as much as I've done this before, I might have to undo it. So. There we go. Oh, thanks, Rod. Yeah, the this housing was not part of the plan, but I didn't. I can see her accidentally, you know, maybe it starts raining and she's trying to get to the back of the van, and you know, rain starts getting all over it, and I really did not want that to be. I didn't want that to be an issue. Give me 1 second. I'm need to change a couple of camera settings. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and tighten these up. Is this off? So, did you guys get that on camera? We had a nice little arc flash because I bumped it with the wrench. It did tell the DC to DC charger to wake up though, which was interesting. Now, it shouldn't have blown any of the fuses because basically that is the battery disconnect switch turning on. So Rod, tell me if that tell me if that spark showed up on camera, because we're live right now. Okay. Oh, you didn't see it? Okay, okay. Anyway. All right, so now let's go to what are our next steps? We've got everything connected. So I'm gonna get the voltmeter out. I'm gonna do just a voltage check of everything, because I don't know how what the state of charge is on all this stuff. Okay. So let's check our battery. 13.15, which is good because that arc that I just did, which it shouldn't affect anything, it's basically connecting the battery on. Sometimes if you do that accidentally, the battery will automatically turn itself off. So the good news is battery's on, we're fine. Now we're gonna test from the battery positive to the input, and we should have 0. We got 0. We're gonna do battery output to output on the battery disconnect. Okay, so we have on our input, we have nothing. So that means that we blew our terminal fuse, which is, that is what will happen if you arc the battery. So let's go ahead and disconnect that and replace the fuse. It doesn't look like it blew. Let's see here. Okay, maybe not. I don't think it would have blown. I don't know why. So let me retest. Okay, so from here, so let's test from the input to ground, and that should give us the voltage that we are looking for. Okay, so we'll go from positive to negative. Okay, we got 13 volts. That's good. So we've got 3 volts coming into, let's see, 3 volts coming in. All right, let's also hook our battery monitor in. No, so it's Blue Sea Systems is the name of that big company. So the master switch is off. I haven't turned the master switch on yet. Because what I want to do is I want to check all the voltages before I turn it on to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. We got 3 volts coming in, and I'm not sure where 3 volts is coming from. So the 3 volts, the only place I can think that it's coming from is the shunt. That sense wire. So we'll figure that out when we get closer to everything. Okay, so the 3 volts is not coming from the engine, obviously, it's not connected. And the 3 volts is coming. All right, so the 3 volts. Okay, so I'm going to take out the fuse from the battery monitor. And we will see if that 3 volts disappears. I'll put you guys on mute. I've got like 2 calls coming in. All right, guys, I'm back. All right, here we go. So the 3 volts, the only place I can think that it's coming from. All right, our 3 volts should be gone. It should be gone now. $2.662. So the other thing I think that happened was we charged up probably like a capacitor or something like that in the an inverter, and then that is what we're experiencing. So and if we did that, that will take a long time for that thing to go down. So yeah. All right, so we'll just monitor that, but everything else should be good to go. Okay, battery monitor's back on, showing 13.1 volts. We are going to keep the engine fuse off, because we're just going to turn on everything one thing at a time, so that if something is happening, we can isolate it. All right, so let's go and check. Got the battery connected. We got the disconnect switch. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the disconnect switch. And so we're going to test the voltage to the inverter. Before we turn it on. And we got 13.15. Okay. All right. Now, with our remote cord, with our breakers off, we should be able to turn this on and get a beep, and then we can check the window to see what's going on. So if you guys can see over here, we've got, I know it's hard to see, but this is not a zoom lens, unfortunately, it's just a wide angle lens. 13.1 volts. Just the inverter on is 2.19 amps, 28 watts. Now when that fan goes off, when the fan cycles off, it should lower, but that's kind of what you would call your like kind of parasitic loss. That is why you don't want to, you typically want to have as many 12 volt components as possible. You don't want to have, only, what am I trying to say? 120 volt, you know, because you're taking 12 and converting it to 120. Okay, so next step is we're going to take this ground fault, or not ground fault, but this receptacle tester, and we want to test all of our receptacles so that when we turn the breaker on, okay, so now the fan's off, so we got 1.5 amps of draw. So 1.5 amps is how much this thing is drawing with nothing happening. So let's just say we had, let's do a little bit of math here. We've got 230 divided by 1.5. So 153 hours. So if you don't charge this for 153 hours, it will die. Okay, because this. So how many days is that? So 6 days. So that's why you need to disconnect this if you're not using it, because this just being on in 6 days will completely drain your battery, theoretically. All right, so we got our little plug here, and we're going to go through and I'm going to turn this on. All right. We have power to the bus bar. Let's change this voltage over here. Wait, can you guys see that? Well, no, I'm going to be in the way. Sorry, you guys will just have to be right there. So we'll change this from DC to AC. And we're going to just test this right here. Okay, so we've got 123 volts. So next we're going to turn one of our outlets on. So let's unplug the fridge. This is a great video for you guys because you got to go step by step. One, I don't know this van. I don't know what somebody did before I got it in here, so I'm going through as if I have no idea, which I don't. So we've got, okay, 123, good. Okay, both of these, got that. Okay, so we're gonna turn on one outlet. All right. Open ground, that's okay. That's okay, because that means, that's fine. It's gonna say open ground because there's no ground. But when you plug it into shore power, that will go away and you will have a proper wiring. Let's see here. We're inside checking the other outlet. Bingo. Good to go. And now we're going to turn the fridge off. We're going to plug the fridge back in. And then we're going to turn the fridge on. And you can hear that the inverter is working. So we're good there. Everything is happy. Good to go. We're going to go turn the fridge off. We're going to unplug it. And then I'll make a little mark because that is the fridge circuit. Second one is the fridge circuit, okay. So now we're going to cut that off. Okay. Now before I turn the AC system on, I want to plug in shore power. So now we're going to do a shore power test. Once we do the shore power test, I'm going to check that everything is charging appropriately. We're going to run the AC, the rooftop AC, just make sure it turns on. And then we're going to finally connect the battery. All right, so now we're going to get our... Now you guys won't be able to see this shore power thing happen, unfortunately. But here, in the meantime, you can, you can get a view of the van. Make sure you're on autofocus. There you go. All right, so here's our cable at. Okay, so here's our shore power cable. We're going to plug in this plug, and then we're going to adapt this plug here to this. Okay, and then that is going to go into our extension cord. No, it's just me. It's me. Okay, so I'm going to do this back here so I can verify what's happening. All right, so for this exercise, we're going to turn off the inverter. And then we're going to plug it in, and it should auto turn on. Okay, so now I'm going to unplug it. All right, I'm going to come back in here and So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing battery charging stages. So I'm going through the manual. I just need to double check that it's on lithium. Let's see, it says. So battery type. Five B-L. 5B-L. Custom battery type. Sorry guys, this is the boring part of the video. I'm going through and remembering how to set the battery voltage. Oh, yeah, this fabric is marathon fabric. Heather gray is the color. And I get it from perfectfit.com. Okay, so I got to get to program 5. Program 5. And I want, so I'm in, I hit menu, I hit the enter button for entering parameter settings, and now I'm going to BL. Lithium is 05 parameter setting, and then the secondary is B-L. And then confirm. Okay. So now that is lithium. Okay. So now we can go back. All right. So now that it's on lithium, now we can go back, plug it back in, and it will charge a quart. Actually, hold on. I'm going to unplug this. All right. And then I'm going to turn this off. And now I'm going to plug this back in. Okay. Okay, so now we are running off of shore power. Got lithium for the battery. All right, so now we will go and test. Now we will go and test the rooftop AC. Let's make sure it's off. Okay, off, low heat, low fan, low cool, high cool, off. And we will, so that is heat, and this is heat off. All right, here we go. Let's give it some juice. Let's see if this thing runs. So you should probably hear the inverter kick back on again. Okay, so we got nothing happening. Okay. Well, so everything on my side is working just fine. There was these extra wires here that I suspect was a 12-volt control wire for the AC. But to be honest, I don't know if these customers actually ever use the AC. Or I know they use the fridge, but the fridge was operating independently from the AC. So I suspect this is the issue. So let's do this. Let's turn off the AC. I'll do that later. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to put in our fuse for the engine battery. So we'll get all my stuff working that I installed, and then we'll troubleshoot why how whatever they did for the AC is affecting it not turning on. And feel free to load me up with some questions while I'm looking for this fuse and some other things. So I have something here called a pre-charge resistor, and basically what it does is it slows down the inrush of power, and it's the only downside I think of these DC to DC chargers. These combo ones, they have this auto sense feature for like voltage. It's the only thing I can think of. I've had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th one. The one for my personal one, not my customer's vans, but my personal one I bought probably 5 years ago. I think I installed it the first time and I wasn't paying attention, and I think I did the little arc thing, and it didn't like that. So I'm going to do it the right way. So if you do it with this pre-charge resistor, what will happen is it will slowly deliver the juice, the current from the battery, and as opposed to making it way too aggressive. So all I'm doing is just touching the two together, letting it do its thing, and then that's it. I'll show you guys off camera. I mean, not off camera, and I'll just show you what it is in a second. Let me just get this in here. Okay, so here it is. This is the pre-charge resistor. And this one I'm using is a 30 ohm. And basically you just touch it. So act like this is like a fuse, and then you touch it between what comes in and what goes out, and it pre-charges it, but this slows that inrush of current. Okay, so we have, that's all good. Oh yeah, I need to verify voltage. So let's change this to DC, and let's make sure our battery is sending us some juice. Okay. Oh, ha, that's funny. All right. It's not sending us juice because I'm making sure everything's nice and safe. And we're gonna have to do this whole thing again because the negative battery terminal has been disconnected, because that's the last thing that we need to reconnect. Always disconnect the negative terminal of your engine battery. So instead of taking the fuse back out, we're just going to disconnect this positive wire. And then we'll come back here. We'll do the pre-charge resistor again. And then, so here, let me bring the camera in so you guys have an idea what the heck's going on. Okay, here is our fuse, all right, for our 6-gauge wire coming directly from the engine battery. Here's our pre-charge resistor. What we want to do is put the resistor here and have the positive touch and let it charge up the DC to DC charger. And then we're going to take it off and then touch it again, and we shouldn't get a spark. That's the theory. So I'm going to go connect the positive battery terminal. I'll be right back. Yeah, Rod, so this Coleman Mach AC unit, it's not a switch. There's a power, but then there's also it goes to a two-way toggle. One is white and one is black. I've come through the van. I have no idea where that is going to or coming from. So, but I'm sure I'll find out soon enough. All right, so there we got our negative. And I'm gonna clean off this battery terminal just really quick. All right, stay with me, guys. I'm almost back at the back. I'm just connecting this negative terminal. Okay. Good, good. Nice and safe. Okay, positive is good. All right, let's check our voltage in the back, and then we can see if we've got. All right, let's check our voltage. So we're not going to connect it yet. We're just going to connect. We're just going to make sure. Yeah, 12.5 volts coming back. Okay, so now take our pre-charge resistor. Okay, so we'll touch this, and we'll touch this part. All right, and now we'll connect it. All right. Now, connected. Good. So we need to select the battery profile on this guy. We're changing it to blue. Go. Okay. So blue is for lithium. The second terminal to the left from the right is battery condition, which is orange, which is true. No solar, and the engine is not running. Okay, so everything looks good on that side. The good question, Rod. I don't know if the AC even works. My assumption, and this customer, super nice. She's so cool. She travels. She plays banjo. She travels to music festivals. And she bought this van because, you know, it was kind of a good deal. And it had all those camping accessories in it. And but I called her the other day, and that might be a good question. I don't know if she's, I had assumed from her travels that she had been using all this stuff, but maybe not. Maybe the AC doesn't work. I do have a DIY van building course that is currently for sale if you guys are interested. And it has a exclusive video that where I go and do a full walkthrough of how to buy a used van and make sure that it's not only safe, but everything works. You're not getting yourself into kind of like a money pit. This van's not a money pit because it's everything right now that we're working on is very entry-level stages, so there's nothing wrong with this van. Now that AC not working, not sure about that. We're gonna find out because I'm gonna go grab some lunch here in a minute and open the door and get this van running for a second. I'm just gonna put this together so it's not moving on me. These are all pre-drilled holes, guys, so don't worry too much. I'm not going to split the wood. Okay, so that should get us going down the road. Let's see what else. This is the lid. So when we're all done, this will be all nice, ready to go, just like that. Was that nut? Okay, so my little notch here, I think I measured that with this piece of wood out. So instead of cutting this nicely upholstered panel, I'm going to make a mark here so I can cut this wood. I want to cut that wood. This is just like an insert. And then that way I can custom fit this over there. All right, anyway, so this bed's on gas shocks, so that way she can easily go up and down. And so my box is a perfect square. This is not. So I wasn't going to sacrifice this for this because this might be changed in the future. But we're going to do this, and then we're going to put her another clasp right here just to hold it down. It's you can see it's just like perfectly balanced. So we'll lock this down here, and then this thing won't rattle. But that's our power system in a nutshell. We're going to go and open the door, crank this van up, and see what the charging looks like. And you know, I'll do that right now. I'll do that right now before I get off the live stream because I may get busy and not be able to show you guys the final portion of this video. So let's do that right now. Okay, we got power. That's good. All right. How are we doing back here? All right, so we've got negative 3.9 amps. So let's crank it up, and then let's see what happens after we crank it up. Let's take a little photo of that. All right. All right, so I'm gonna unplug shore power. And automatically, we got, bam, 30 amps charging from the DC to DC charger. Heck yeah, that's great. Fantastic. That's so great. That's great. There's nothing else to do. That means this is a success. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna clean all this stuff up. I'm gonna see if you guys have any other questions. And while we're live, clean our mess up. Yeah, so this is a great, this series that we just did the last couple of days, this is a perfect example of a great DIY install. Not great because of me, great because this is something that anybody can approach. This is a very simple setup. I don't think at all it's too intimidating if you just take your time. You could definitely do this in a weekend. I've been doing other things. I've not been doing this, 24/7. So you could definitely install this in a weekend, no problem. Okay. So yeah, that's our install all set up. I'm gonna leave this cover. I'll put this cover on, just so you guys can. Oh yeah, I got to cut out this blank. Okay, maybe not. So I added another breaker, so I need to take this out. But basically, this would come over here. Why not just do it right now? What else am I doing, right? So I just took a pair of snips, and then I snipped that out. Okay, we're gonna cut the van off so we don't carbon monoxide ourselves. Just like that, we ramp down 2 amps, 1.8. Excellent. Okay, we'll just take this cover. Should snap right on just like that. There's a couple little set screws we can put in here. We'll do that in a second. All right, guys, well, that is job complete. 230 amp hour lithium battery from Lead Time. Check out Will Prouse's DIY solar YouTube channel on his recommendations for stuff like that. I typically don't go with those batteries, but this is one where he said it was safe, low temperature, disconnect, all that good stuff. Next, we've got the Renogy 2,000 watt inverter charger. They make a 3,000 watt version, but it's about 30 pounds heavier, so this is better for our form factor. Got that coupled to a Renogy combo DC to DC MPPT charge controller over here, charging from 30 amps from the engine, and then rounding it off with the Progressive Dynamics AC distribution box. Got all of our controls over here. We're gonna put some screws in here. That'll all be good to go. We got our disconnect and our battery monitor, which is gonna be a little wonky right now. It's gotta figure out charge and discharge so that it can tell you how much is in there. So right now this will be off until it gets better. And then we're gonna finalize it by fixing this little arm, this little piece of wood that she's been using. And yeah, I'm gonna put something together here so this will hold the bed down. And then I gotta put a bunch of screws down here in the bottom and all that good stuff. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them for you. It's been a fun project. But yeah, if you got any questions on these items, just put those in the comments below and I'll get back to those and answer them. We're gonna get this van wrapped up. Let's see, what time is it? Maybe tomorrow. She might get this thing first thing tomorrow. But that's it. Oh yeah, I gotta troubleshoot the AC. I gotta figure out, I'm assuming this is why it's not working. This must connect. It's on the complete opposite side of the van and there's nothing else connected to it, so yeah. All right, well, that is it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Get subscribed if you're not subscribed, and like this video. Share it to anybody that's doing this type of install for this power system or would like to. And there's also two things. There's a free DIY Vanbuilder cheat sheet with a lot of the parts that were used in this. And there's also the new Vanbuild Blueprint course, which is my DIY van building course that you can purchase. And it's got a whole tutorial on how to find your van, new or used, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, high, mid, low roof, going into power system design, van layout, other ways to customize it, including that how to buy a used vehicle and what to look for. That's exclusive to the course, nowhere else on the internet. And you can find those in the links in the description below. And yeah, any other questions, put it in the chat, and I'll see you guys on the next live stream.